It's probably the best bowl practice in terms of not going against the scout team and going against one another. We're probably healthier than we've been for the last 4 or 5 games of the year, Matt DeBerry. I'm really proud of the guys that are dying to go play. Our guys want to play. They're excited to go play. So our guys are excited. Kirby Smart on Tuesday talking about the Dogs when they arrived in, I'm just going to say Miami. I think they did land in the Miami airport, but I think a lot of this stuff is happening in Fort Lauderdale. So audience, forgive us. Um, Man, it seemed Georgia's saying all the right things.
Yeah, 100%. And you love to see that. You love to hear that. And at the end of the day, I do think it's true because a lot of these guys, they're football guys. They have a chance to strap the pads on and go out and hit other guys and represent their university and their coaches and their teammates one final time this year. And they're excited to do that. They're eager to get down there and play football. They're not opting out, right? They want to play football and they want to play for their teammates. That's what you want to see. If you love the game, go play the game. And it seems like Georgia has a lot of players who want to play football one more time for the next 10 months. Like Ryan said in another video, after this, you're waiting a long time before you get to play a game against another team, right? So they know what's at stake, which is not a whole lot, right? I mean, if they win this game, they get an Orange Bowl trophy. They're going to put it in the corner of the trophy case. It's going to get dusty real soon, right? It is what it is. They want to go hit someone and they want to play football. And you have to love that attitude because, Kirby preaches, connection, right? Playing for each other, playing for that G on your helmet. And it seems like this team, for the most part, most of these guys get that. And they want to play ball, Ryan. And it doesn't seem like Florida State is going down there with that same type of attitude. Georgia's not going down to Miami, feeling sorry for themselves. It kind of feels like Florida State is. They're still going down there to play winning football, to play competitive football, and to play for the Dogs, play for that G on their helmet and their team.
Yeah, I think one of the big points in there is that they're healthier than they were beforehand. And that's the scary thing, for another scary thing on top of this for Florida State. That's what would have been scary for the pool of playoff teams if and that's the case for a lot of teams, just getting healthy as the year goes on. But this Georgia team at full strength, we never really saw it. And we're not going to get to see it because there won't be Bowers and Mims out there, and some people have transferred out at this point. So we won't know exactly, but that was what was going to be the scary thing for whoever Georgia had to play in the playoff, was they would have been pretty much 100% healthy by that game, whether it had been Michigan, whoever it was going to end up being. And now Florida State's got to deal with that on top of all of their opt-outs. It's a hungry team. It's next game, next play, next man. It is a machine. There's no other way to put it. It's a machine, and it's gonna work with or without you if you're a player, and they want the pieces to really want it.
Yeah, let me just say this real quick. Make sure you're a part of our machine, which is our newsletter. The link is right down below. We've got stuff from Matt and Ryan and me, and you're gonna miss out on a lot of stuff. Stuff from the coaches, Mike Norvell in this case, or Kirby, or Nick when Georgia's playing Bama. Make sure you're signing up for that. There's some serious value in there. I want to see the first quarter will tell you everything, and but the machine comment, Ryan, you probably heard me say that too much, so maybe you're kind of drafting on.
No, it's what it is.
It is what it is.
It's what it is, because think about who knows what the conversation was with Marvin Jones Jr. when he decided to leave, but it probably was a handshake, thank you, goodbye, we're moving on. We've got other guys.
Yeah, and maybe part of the machine is like the zeros and ones that are like, hey, if we can help you in the future, let us know. And then they're just going to want to go beat everybody's ass, Matt. There's nothing left to do for the machine at this point than to just go beat ass in South Florida. That's what this is at this stage.
Yeah, if you don't want to be part of the machine, what are you doing? Oh, okay. Well, good luck. But
yeah, and not in a condescending way. They're just like, okay.
Right. Good luck. And again, these guys are transferring for different reasons. A lot of them just weren't playing this year, and they weren't going to play next year. I get it. But a lot of these freshmen who were only with the program 1 year and decided to go elsewhere, just kind of has me shaking my head a little bit. But just going back to that machine point, you're both right, because when you win 2 national titles and you're 1 game away from being in position to three-peat, that's a machine. Like that, it keeps going and going. And the machine started in 2017 when they came 1 play away from winning it all. And 18 and 19 were good teams too. People look down on those teams because of what they did in 21 and 22. Those were still, top 5 teams in college football. And they only lost 2 games in 2020. And that's looked at as one of the worst seasons that Kirby Smart's had in 6 years. The machine's rolling, and it's going to roll next year as well.
Hey, let me shift this slightly to a different perspective, which is that sometimes, I do this in terms of historical perspective. You don't have to think about long ago after mentioning 2020, because I did want to get back to this, Matt. That was the only time that Peach Bowl game in Cincinnati was the only time you and I were together the entire season. Actually, Ryan and I had gone to go to watch Amarius Mims, watch Brock Vandergriff. I think those were the only 2 that we got to see.
Malachi Starks and those guys.
Starks. Yes. But I guess, Matt, when you think back to that game with the game-winning kick and the way that, JT Daniels played at the end of that game, they had Stetson Bennett in that game, by the way, foreshadowing things. How is this game different than that game? I mean, they're not winning the national championship in that season. Part of the success of that season was getting to the end of the year, frankly. But I remember leaving the Dome. It felt like, Georgia's sort of found themselves. It took a season of like wandering through 3 quarterbacks that started, but they found themselves, and now, here we go. And later that afternoon, Alabama beat Notre Dame in a game that Notre Dame shouldn't have been in the playoff, whatever. But I'm trying to, and then later that night, Ohio State beat Clemson's brains in, and essentially 21 started that day for Georgia and Clemson. But what do you recall from that Peach Bowl? And how I'm sorry, Matt, and how does this orange, does it correlate at all?
A little bit. I don't think what happens in the Orange Bowl this weekend really has any effect on next year. Maybe these young kids get in the game and build a little bit of confidence heading into the spring, which helps them, prepare and be the player they could be next year. But at the end of the day, this is all about, playing for the seniors, playing for the guys who are leaving, and still playing to that standard. And Kirby doesn't want his team to, again, treat this game any different. Every game's the same. You go out and play tough, physical, disciplined, competitive football, no matter who the opponent is. And, like Ryan said in another video, Kirby said earlier this week, this is about us. This is about playing the way we want to play, practice how we want to practice. And that's how you keep a machine going, right? You play your best every time you get an opportunity to. And it is, it always makes everyone feel a little better when you do win that last game.
Yeah,
so you always want as much momentum as possible going into the spring and for next year. But these guys are going to play for the seniors, and that always means a lot, Ryan.
Yeah, this is it just feels it's a lot different than 2020. Just because, well, one, they had a lot to just figure out in 2020, and all, most of what was figuring out this year was just how to get to the end, which would have been a national championship. There's a more disappointing taste to this one compared to, like, you were looking forward to punch in a New Year's 6 bowl win at the end. This one's more of a consolation prize, so there are some differences in that. But the year before that, I think winning that Sugar Bowl was a big deal after what had happened in the previous Sugar Bowl, and I think this will be treated a lot more like that one. And that's pretty obvious. But they want, like Matt was talking about with the trophy, it will be a trophy that won't mean as much as some of the other ones, but it's still a significant trophy. And it's the last significant Orange Bowl where it just stands alone as, you're winning the Orange Bowl and this is that trophy. After this, they're all playoff games, the New Year's 6 Bowl. The postseason's changing. So this is kind of the last game into the future of college football. And then you're looking forward into a different world.
Yeah, I do think, though, Matt, when we were leaving the Dome, I don't remember if we rode together or not. I don't think we did, but Could it? So the imagination has changed in Athens, and I think that's the most important thing. Leaving the dome, I'm not sure people thought, oh, Georgia's going to win the national championship next year. No, Georgia could lose by 20 to Florida State, and that the people will be like, Georgia can win the national championship next year. I think that's the difference right now. Go ahead and wrap us up, Matt.
Yeah, I think in both instances, you knew who the starting quarterback was going to be.
Right.
It turned out to be Stetson Bennett, but JT Daniels did start that first game, and no matter what happens against Florida State, we know that Carson Beck is going to be the guy next year. So, we'll see if there's any connection to next year. But like you said, it doesn't matter what happens in the Orange Bowl. Georgia, and we'll talk about it all offseason, could likely be the favorite to win it all next year.
They currently are the favorite to win it in 24. So but we will return to that topic soon enough.